Imagine arriving at your Airbnb at 2 a.m. in the worst neighborhood in Detroit, only to find the key isn't in the box. Then, the lights go on inside, and a stranger opens the door. This is exactly what happened to Tess. Most people would run, but Tess is tired, it's pouring rain, and every hotel in the city is booked. The man inside, Keith, seems nice enough, maybe too nice. He offers her the bedroom while he sleeps on the couch. Tess is exhausted, and despite her better judgment, she accepts Keith's offer to stay. But the tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Keith offers to share a bottle of wine, and this is where the movie starts playing a brilliant game with the audience. As they sit in the dimly lit living room, the conversation feels like a chess match. Keith is being too perfect. He's charming, he's respectful, and he's an architect, or so he says. He asks Tess about her interview, trying to build a bridge of trust. But look at Tess's face here. She's doing what every woman is taught to do, she's being polite to stay safe, while her fight-or-flight response is screaming in the background. Notice how the camera stays on Keith just a second too long. The movie wants us to look for red flags. Is he drugged the wine? Why is he so insistent on her taking the bedroom? Every time he smiles, we find ourselves asking, is this a guy who happened to get double booked, or is this a hunter who just caught his prey? They talk about the neighborhood, the ruins of Detroit, and Keith mentions that the house is an oasis in a wasteland. It's a bit of foreshadowing that hits like a ton of bricks later on. They eventually share a laugh, and for a brief moment, Tess lets her guard down. She decides to trust him. She drinks the wine. And in a horror movie, that moment of trust is usually the exact moment the trap snaps. But as the night goes on, Tess realizes that a double-booked rental is the least of her problems. Tess wakes up at 3 a.m. to a sound that every traveler dreads, the creak of a heavy door. She looks over, and the bedroom door, the one she knew she closed, is standing wide open. The hallway beyond is a pitch-black void. Fear freezes her for a second, but she has to know if Keith is out there. She creeps into the living room, but Keith is fast asleep on the sofa. If he didn't open the door, who did? This is the moment where the Barbarian audience starts shouting at the screen. The next morning, Tess is alone. She heads to the basement to find some toilet paper, but she notices a strange shadow behind a shelf. When she pushes it, she finds a heavy steel door. Behind that door isn't a storage room. It's a dark, concrete tunnel that looks like it hasn't seen light in decades. She finds a room with a single tripod, a video camera, and a dirty mattress. This isn't just a basement, it's a dungeon. Just then, the door slams shut. She's trapped. When Keith finally comes home and goes down to find her, he hears a noise from the deepest part of the tunnel. He thinks it's a prank. He's wrong. Something reaches out from the dark, and before the screen goes black, we hear the sound of bones snapping. Suddenly, the movie flips. We meet AJ, a wealthy Hollywood guy who actually owns the house in Detroit. He's broke and needs to sell the property fast, so he flies out to check on it. He has no idea what just happened to Tess and Keith. When he enters the basement to measure the square footage, he finds the secret door. But instead of being scared, AJ thinks he's found a goldmine extra square footage he didn't know existed. He's down in the dark tunnels with a measuring tape, literally calculating how much more money he can make off this dungeon. But as he steps deeper into the shadows, he falls. He drops into a hidden pit, and the silence is broken by a sound that isn't human. Out of the darkness crawls the mother. She is a towering, pale, and completely deformed woman who hasn't seen the sun in decades. But she doesn't attack AJ immediately. Instead, she tries to nurse him. This is the twisted heart of Barbarian. The mother isn't just a monster, she's a victim of the house's original owner, Frank, who spent years kidnapping women and forcing them to raise families in these tunnels. The mother has a broken mind. she sees AJ not as a trespasser, but as her baby. She tries to force-feed him from a filthy bottle, and the look of pure, primal possessiveness in her eyes is more terrifying than any jump scare. AJ is trapped in a room with a creature that has the strength of a bear and the mind of a confused, protective parent. When Tess, who we thought was dead, appears from another cage in the darkness, we realize the true horror. This isn't just a basement, it's an ecosystem of trauma. The mother wants to keep them there forever, protected from the world above. But as AJ tries to escape, he realizes that the mother's love is just as deadly as her rage. One wrong move, and she will crush his skull just to keep him from leaving her nest. Just when AJ thinks the nightmare can't get any worse, he crawls into a room that looks like a normal bedroom trapped in a time capsule from the 1980s. But something is wrong. The air is stagnant, and the walls are lined with hundreds of VHS tapes. On the bed lies a man named Frank, an ancient, withered shell of a human being who has been living in this darkness for decades. This is the architect of agony. While the mother is the monster we see, Frank is the monster who created her. AJ starts looking through the room, and he finds the evidence of a 40-year crime spree that the police never even suspected. Those tapes? They are Frank's trophies. They document every woman he snatched from the streets and dragged down into these tunnels. The mother didn't just appear out of nowhere. She is the tragic result of Frank's obsession with creating a perfect, obedient family through horrific, multi-generational abuse. As AJ realizes he is standing in a factory of human suffering, he looks at Frank. The old man isn't repentant. He's just waiting. In one of the most chilling moments of the film, Frank realizes the walls are closing in. He doesn't want to face justice, and he doesn't want to face his daughter outside the door. He reaches for a handgun, looks AJ in the eye with a terrifying coldness, and ends his own life. Tess finally bursts out of that house of horrors, sprinting into the overgrown streets of Detroit. But she isn't alone. The mother comes charging out after her, completely naked and shrieking with a primal rage. She isn't just fast, she's a force of nature. Tess dives into her car, fumbling with the keys as the mother slams against the glass with terrifying strength. In a moment of pure survival instinct, Tess slams the car into gear and floor it. Crunch! She hits the mother head-on, sending the creature flying. But even that isn't enough to stop her. This creature has survived decades in a concrete hole. A car isn't going to end her. The chase leads them to a rusted, abandoned water tower. Tess is cornered at the very top, staring down at the jagged concrete below. AJ is there too, but in a final act of cowardice, he tries to save himself by pushing Tess off. But the mother, in her twisted, broken mind, doesn't want her baby to die. As Tess falls, the mother leaps after her. She wraps her body around Tess, acting as a human shield, taking the full force of the impact against the ground.
AJ thinks he's won. He thinks he's the final boy, but he forgot one thing: the mother isn't just a monster, she's a protector, against all laws of physics. After taking a fall that should have shattered every bone in her body, the mother gets back up. She isn't just alive, she is possessed by a demonic rage. She scales the tower like a predator, and before AJ can even scream, she is on him. She doesn't just bite him, she reaches out with her filthy, powerful thumbs and presses them directly into AJ's eye sockets. We hear the sickening sound of bone and tissue giving way as she pushes deeper and deeper. It's a slow, agonizing death that feels like poetic justice for a man who spent the whole movie being a selfish coward. She literally squeezes the life out of him through his eyes until his body goes limp. With AJ finally out of the picture, the mother turns back to Tess. Despite the carnage, she doesn't attack, she reaches out, still seeing Tess as her baby. But Tess knows this cycle of trauma and basement cages has to end. As the police sirens wail in the distance, Tess finds the handgun. She looks the mother in the eye one last time, a look of pity mixed with pure survival, and pulls the trigger. If you thought this Airbnb was a nightmare, just wait until you see what happens in our next video. We're diving into a story so disturbing it was banned in 3 countries, but before we go, be honest, if you found that hidden door in your basement, would you have opened it, or would you have checked out right then and there? Let me know in the comments. I'm reading every single one. This is a brand new channel and every single sub helps us bring you more of these deep dive recaps. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next breakdown. I'm Recap Realm, and I'll see you in the next nightmare. Thanks for watching.